So a couple logistical concerns with the throwing stick, some things we want to keep in mind when we're out in the wild places gathering this most basic of hunting tool. The first thing we want to pay attention to are the dimensions. What sizes are we looking for? Ideally, we're looking for something that is approximately armpit to wrist, armpit to palm, somewhere in there. And as far as thickness goes, you want something that is approximately wrist thick, maybe a little bit thinner. The concern there is you don't want something that's so heavy that you can't throw it with enough force to do the job. So you want to find something that fits within those dimensions, but is also comfortable enough for you to throw. Ideally, also what you're looking for in that most basic of stick is you want something that's as straight as possible, with as few knots as possible. These basic sticks are not very aerodynamic, and they're very loud flying through the air. And if I have a nice straight piece of wood that has few knots, maybe I've taken the bark off of it, maybe I haven't, it's going to be a lot quieter than a gnarly stick that's got branches sticking off of it and is all twisty and has some curves to it. So armpit to palm, armpit to wrist, about wrist thick. As far as types of animals go that you can hunt with a throwing stick, really that's dependent on your skill. Primarily the throwing stick is used to harvest small game animals. However, it is completely possible to take things up to and including deer. There were plenty of Native American groups out there that used throwing sticks to harvest larger game animals. But traditionally, we think of throwing sticks, or rabbit sticks as they're often called, as being a small game hunting tool. But however, with enough experience and dirt time, you can take it to that art form level where you are able to take larger game animals. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to teach you the first of, I think, 5 throws. I'm going to teach you guys. They are very specific to the throwing weapons, and you'll see why rather quickly. The first throw I'm going to talk about is the sidearm throw. This is your most basic throw, and this is the throw that you're probably going to use most of the time. Between this and the J throws, which I'll show you here in a little while. So, when we throw a stick, first things first, the stick goes in your dominant hand. I'm a lefty. I primarily throw lefty. I can throw righty as well. It brings up an important point. Any skill you learn, it's good to work on with both hands. You're out in the survival situation. You never know when you're going to injure your dominant hand. It'd be good to have a backup, have a little bit of skill with your non-dominant side. And that's true for throwing stick or bow drill or anything like that. Work on becoming proficient with both hands. So the stick is in your dominant hand. And I grab the stick all the way at the back, at the bottom of the stick. So my body position with this is as follows. When I do the sidearm throw, I'm sideways to whatever it is I'm throwing at, whether it's target, an animal, or whatever. The reason is because the key with this basic throw is that there is no wind-up involved. We're not a Major League Baseball pitcher. We don't want any wind-up. Wind-up is bad because we are trying to throw the stick in as few movements as we possibly can. And if I'm out in a hunting situation and I see that rabbit or that squirrel and I have to wind up before I throw, now I've just made all this extra out-of-context movement that the animal's going to pick up on. Animals, especially game animals, have very poor eyesight for picking out detail. Their eyes are more designed to pick out quick or out-of-context motions. And that motion of me winding up to then come back through and throw is, if you do that, oftentimes you're going to spook the animal. So this throw is meant to be done from a complete standstill. That's one of the reasons why we're in the position we're in, because I'm going to use the mechanics of my body to generate enough energy to throw this stick and to throw it effectively with enough force to quickly dispatch an animal. So as I said, stick is in your dominant hand. Your non-dominant side is what is facing the target. My feet are about shoulder width apart, comfortable stance. And that front foot, I always like to kind of point slightly in the direction of the target. I'm not, doing one of these. but I'm not quite even. I just have that non-throwing foot slightly forward. Stick position is at waist height. Now, there's a reason for this. When my animal that I'm throwing at is this way, when I'm standing here like this, you know, when an animal looks for a human being, they look for that head and shoulders silhouette, that kind of bathroom door silhouette you see. That's what animals look for when they look for a human. By standing sideways to the target, I change my profile, number one. Number two, by standing and having that stick at waist level, now my stick is also camouflaged. Not camouflaged, but out of sight of the animal. You know, this looks like a crazy human with a stick to an animal. But if I change my profile, and I'm standing sideways, and I have that stick at about waist level, then my prey can't see the stick. Now, there's a very specific chain of motions. You need to chain these all together to make this an effective throw. Because we are not winding up, we have to explode from a standstill. And that's one of the beauties about this throw, and in using our bodies allows us to do that. So I'll go through it slow motion, and then I'll do it regular. I'll do it regular, normal speed. So let's say I've just stalked into position. Maybe I was waiting on the side of a trail. I'm in position. Maybe I was crouched down, and now I've raised up into that ready position. So when I throw, the body mechanics are as such. So basically the first thing I do is, and I'm favoring the back leg here. I have a little bit more weight on this back leg than I do the front leg. My hand is in close to my body. I see people practice throwing stick all the time and their hand is out here. Now when I go to do this throw, if my hand's out here, my hand is going to move. It's just like waving to the animal. I'm making extra motion. We don't want to make extra motion, so I keep it in close to my body. Favoring that back leg. When I go to throw, I rock forward and I come onto my non-dominant leg. I even the distribution of the weight, and as I reach about that halfway point where just a little over 50% of my weight is on this leg, I twist my hips, I bring my arm under, and I snap to release, and I pivot on the back foot. So it's this wave of motion. You're storing that energy in your body, and as I rock forward, twist my hips, and snap to release and pivot my foot, this chain of motion that my body's going through allows me to generate an incredible amount of force with this throwing technique. It does take a little while to get this into your muscle memory. You know, using any new tool is all about learning the technique and form and applying it and building it into your muscle memory. So at first it may feel odd to try to generate this incredible amount of force by doing these motions with your body. That's why I recommend when we first start out with this, don't put as much energy into it as you could. Start off throwing at about medium speed or about a medium amount of power. Then as you build that into your muscle memory, then you can increase the power as you go. Increase the power as you go, increase the power as you go. So as I said, feet are about shoulder width apart, comfortable stance, little bend in your knees. That non-throwing foot is pointed slightly towards the direction of my target. Stick is at waist level. And when I initiate this forward motion, I rock forward. Once I'm just over 50% weight distribution, I then twist my hips and snap to release and pivot on that back foot. It's a fairly simple chain of motions, and you'll build it into your muscle memory pretty quick. So now I'll throw full blast here. Not aiming at any specific target.
I want you to aim something.
Oh, I'm good. You're good when I'm throwing. It's when you guys are throwing that I'm a little scared about, because I've been hit in every direction. I've had people try to throw sticks this way and have them go do this and release back here. So yeah, so now I'm ready. And when I throw, as I said, actually let me throw one more time because I took a little step with my front foot for later. But as I said, with this, from that standstill, you can generate an incredible amount of force. So you just basically, you start that chain reaction, you come through 50%, and you start to twist your hips, and you snap to release. Somebody lay on the other side of the log to pick up the barrel.
I don't care.
I'd do it if I knew it was going to be covered in that.